All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Delgado Community College Reading Series, featuring tonight Adele Elise Williams and Henry Goldkamp. Thank you all for being here. My name is Mason. I'm going to introduce our poets this evening, starting with Adele. So Adele Elise Williams is a writer who has been published in various journals, most recently or forthcoming in Tammy, Split Lip Magazine, and Quarterly West. She lives, edits, teaches, and learns in Houston, Texas, where she also serves as nonfiction editor for Gulf Coast. Her current goings-on can be found at AdeleEliseWilliams.com. So let's give Adele a happy welcome. Adele, whenever you're ready.
Cool, thanks so much for the introduction. Can everyone hear me okay? Cool. And first, of course, I gotta thank Henry for inviting me to do this with him, and Delgado for hosting us. As a native Louisianian, this feels really sweet. It's really special for me, particularly, so selfish in that way. So thanks for having me. So I'm gonna read for around 25 minutes, kind of warm you up, get your brains in the game, and then Henry's gonna do his thing, which I know we all love and enjoy. So I'll get started. This first poem is called Don't Pretend You Don't Care. The body is smart, y'all. The body is smart in art and scheming. A football player does magic on TV now. He made Heidi Klum levitate. Her body was long and cloaked in black like a Labrador. She laid on her side and floated for real, y'all. Floated like smog streaming a horizon, floated like a bride ballooned, like big truck Mardi Gras. This football player blew my mind. No tricks, no tracks. Once he was a long snapper, then his aorta was thick as a PBR can, and now he is a magician, y'all. He says it's a great day to be alive, and he means it. I can tell. I can tell by the eyes on the front of his face. They say thank you to a dope god, to a big shot, to the head honcho, to $1 million man. The body is smart, y'all. The body knows when to run full steam ahead or pause quietly for a check-in. Gloria Anzaldúa says her body is a shadow beast, y'all. She says she is a wild-tongued serpent looking for a home. She says the serpent cures and causes the wound. The body is forked at the tongue and knows no lasting abode. The body will burrow in a rent-to-own or sparkle on a field. The body is smart, y'all. It will wail for ancient gods or bleed unnoticed. The long snapper has it all. His wifey is blessed with natural ombre. Her head hair is a nightfall. Her body is curly brackets. Her serpent is hibernating and she doesn't know any better, y'all. Heidi was convinced. She talked enthusiastically with her hands, how he made his face into a shocked egg. Simon said the world needed him, needed his magic. Simon said the world needed his magic, y'all. I looked for the thin lacing of clear supports for Heidi's flimsy body. I paused the Roku and went frame by frame. I only saw sequins, y'all. The limitlessness of stage light, the flick of a tail. Misadventures in Hope. The Shar-Pei I found the other day reeked of skunk or fuel or abuse, and the man I loved this morning felt like a sparkly gun in my hands, and my sister's kids are too pure, are so sweet, but are not jaded, are everything I hope to stand for. The Shar-Pei bled petals onto my white shirt, sat in my hug like a baby boy, sucked on my fingers like a roasted bone, and asked me to never take it home again. And the kids won't last. We all know it. We all know something terrible is eventually going to happen. My man who sparkles can also be locked and loaded, one shiny trigger away from AWOL. An animal, a kitty, a man, a sister live by a code. The code is hunger or danger or reproduce. The code is lonely or love me or play pretend. A dingo walked naturally on two legs in India this week, and I played the lottery. I made a bet. I bet that one day I'd marry, that one day I'd matter, that very, very soon someone somewhere would bleed for nothing less than my love for my alive mistakes. A bird hit the window this morning begging for attention or simply direction in so much sun, and I hit back. I placed the wren in my fridge with water and blueberries, and with the door opened wide, I prayed to St. Francis for feathered life and to St. Anthony for found power, and the bird's eyes rolled forward. It took 2 breaths in, 1 breath out. It took a blueberry right into its beak, and it flew into the window again, this time for real, forever. Confession as confession. I have horrible nail beds plus a trash mattress too, and I'm so tired of waging class war. I'm searching for jobs on Indeed by salary, which makes no sense because I only have one talent. It's not something someone pays for. I bought a lame car for full price because I had to buy something shiny at my age. I can barely stand my own gigged out face. I can't see past my wet egg eyes. I'm literally soaked at sundown 8 days a week. What I mean to say is I am junk and a drinker. My nails grow all broken backwards like. My feet are set wide and not cute from standing and serving and sweating. Suffer is suffer because I say so. Think about it. What does your bed feel like? Does it fold in like prayer hands from all the other lovers before you? Or did it come express in a purple box? Mine didn't. Mine came from Craigslist. Some Christians sold it to me, and then I fucked addicts on it, and then I martyred a man, and we sleep on that typhoon of regret together. I am American, and I want a Keurig. For real though, just hire me to teach sincere art. Just let me indoctrinate your kids. It's all shit out there. I want Sleep Number like God needs a victim, like I could just willy-nilly get sober and make something of myself. I'm allowed to say I'm pathetic. Are you here, reader? Can you look past the deprecation? Do you see my relevance? Did you note my name? All right. Deconstructing milk baby. I was a milk baby ever before I was a knee baby, and before that I was the only baby, and before that I was a rattle in the womb. I was a worried child ever before I was a livid teen, and before that I was a late bloomer, and before that I was a football player for Halloween. I was a milk baby for months and a knee baby for longer than I deserved. I was a floor baby, but not a bed baby. So my head is round like an acorn, like a bumble that bothered, left, and then returned, full circle, full of resentment. I am full of resentment and fear. I am a fearful woman, and before that I was a wazzy 20-something, and before that I was an angsty teen with a razor in her hand and blood on the floor. Now I am a nervous Nelly. I have tangled lady hair and long gammy gams and a willied lily ass that trembles with every shock of life. So this next poem, when I was pulling this packet together, I was going to provide some context. So I was like trying to articulate how to condense a story for a reading to preface the poem, but the poem was written in a direct response to like this really specific creative experience. But I've decided the poem performs better on its own. Like I like it better without knowing that. So I guess I'm just saying that you don't get to know where the poem came from, and you're just going to get it as it is, which I think is kind of the thing that we should be doing anyway. I do wrong when I forget the body. Okay, there is body, yes. I'm not ignoring the body. It's all about the body. There just is light too. I'm just saying there is also light, and damn, the body is so dead and so done wrong. And I say I know pain, but I'm not dying. My mother is not dying. My brother is not dying. My sister is not dying. My other sister is not dying. My dad is not dying. I just mean I just want to say the light caught my eye. I can't lie, the light was so beautiful like Eureka that I forgot the dead body for a tiny breath, for the tiniest inhale, like couldn't even live off that tiny bit of air. That's how small the forget was. And I'm just a person. I'm just a poet, and it only means everything when I do wrong, when I forgot the body. Okay, the light was more than the dead body. I'll say it. I'll say the thing. The light was so beautiful. I felt real brave and real smart noticing the light. The light meant more. I'll say it. The light meant more than the death to me. It meant not death. It meant beyond death. It meant bigger and badder than the injustice. It meant suffer ends. It meant sun. It meant bodies matter most. See, the body matters. See? The body is everything. I never ignored the body. I never not saw the not light, the body. I saw the body. I saw it in the light. The light let me see the body, and the light was everything. The light was so big and bad, so bright. I knew it was also the body and the light. The body died so the light had meaning. The light blared so the body meant more than a forget breath or a stoned poet. The light, the body, the light, and I'm sorry body. I'm sorry I ever forgot your blood and brain and toes. Light doesn't have toes, just has exposed, display, a stage, a scene, a loss. Light only has the object it shows to matter, so I am sorry to the body. I am sorry I ever didn't not see or not saw you. I'm sorry for the toes, I'm sorry for the dead face, the face a wet napkin over kindling, over mulch, over a dice game. I'm sorry, body, that you were smaller than light, but are light, and you need the light to be body. But I'm most sorry, body, for the gasp of forget, for the lux of light and the failure of fail, that bodies die, that light lasts longer than ever, that the body has such expire that light means it all, means death and life and body. That light means so much body. I'm so sorry, body. I'm so sorry that I am lost and in the dark. The marvelous version. I come from a lengthy lineage of witch women. Women who see themselves in anything they touch, everything they eat, sage sayers. My sister turned linen before my eyes. My mother wilted into lantana. My great aunt may have started it all, seeing things in crop circles, leaving 3-day-old meat in the mailbox for her sins. I mean that she died looking for signs, burning shapes into her arms, concentric and pearl. And I cannot lie. I too slay days searching for hints, counting landscapes with my fingers, whistling big like a quail. I check the chimney for angels, the mailbox for rot. In the morning, the sky makes the rules. It comes full around me, dead or alive and shaped, always shaped, laying its mystic down like scripture. Know this, see that, mean this, watch out, you are here. When tying her hair into knots, fashioning a tiny rope for the secrets to climb, I'd yell at my great aunt. In fear of my own and owned augury, nothing is nothing and you are only insane and alone. But I knew better, no more now. How an owlet above always means guardian, how the ripples in my water glass wink as women will do when whispering, I believe in you. Omens are not always lovely. Do not often sing like communion choir. Listen. Believe the train station man when he tells you the end is near. Stare immensely into every sputtering candle flame. The scar near your hip isn't only a scar, but also a delicate symbol for sound. The night my great aunt died, she became a bird for all practical purposes, branding herself with texture, flitting and building her nest. Now look into your eyes, your other eyes, and tell me, what did she harbor? Where could she possibly roost? Plath and prism. Sylvia must have known what we all know now, that we are only as good as our most violent flaw, that no amount of Eckhart Tolle can mitigate original sin, the lure of that rosaceous rib. And how again am I powerless? In the full throes of mania, I plan to tattoo my entire body in Lithuania. I DM the artist, accept unnecessary FAFSA funding. It is a $7,000 project. Will I black out my nipples, Tetris my chin? I pursue reinvention every few months, corresponding with a rancher in Wyoming, contacting nunneries in Scotland, prophesying my own street cred upon opening a vintage shop. While in rehab in rural South Carolina, I am told to pray for my life to be enough, to beg my God to slow me down. But my God is a sago bonsai palm, a copper cast thumb bought at a yard sale, a pineapple gummy bear. I rely on redirection and reduction, on technicolor pipe dreams, and I doubt the God I've chosen can stop this amalgamation of failure. Sylvia Plath's appeal is often chalked up to a novice poet's interests, a judgment I remember from my first year at poet school, and how workshop participants reveled in my lack of grammar, and how campus security thought I was loitering, and how, like my mother once said, there are decisions that one can literally never live down. I love Sylvia because she tried terribly hard despite knowing she would ultimately fail. Because she safely secured her children into their rooms before the gas, and because she said fuck all to the man next door, letting the poison heather his sleep. I love Sylvia because she said things like, by whatever these pink things mean. I never went to Lithuania or Wyoming, nor do I own anything as permanent as brick and mortar. But I have tattooed much of my body. I have loved a man who threw me away, and I've sighed disappointedly at my chrome electric oven. Also, you should know I'm secretly smart, yet I still can't figure out how we've made art and love so complicated, so reliant on approval, that lacking this recognition, we will hurl our bodies into a ruby volcano, into all that blinding magic. No one cares for my raging sensitivities, and I don't care about no one. Sylvia was the worst kind of dreamer. With tits on her chest, she dreamt it all. Come on, you know I do dream for you. You know I light sage and dig deep and turn green for you. You know my chin is unspoiled and my heart is tasty rainbow. Gotta crush that White Claw. Self-portrait with darlings. Alone, I am at my very best, but I seem to always be followed by darlings. Darlings with sharp teeth, or darlings with fuzzy bodies, or darlings with big bellies, or darlings with wide shoulders like bookends. I do not mind the darlings. I do not mind the kisses from lips like long purples, or little lips like shell shards. I just miss myself all alone on a Craigslist mattress or a borrowed rug. I miss wearing tops, no bottoms, cheap gold robes, drinking sparkles and Stoli, eating a sandwich for every meal. I am a hell of a catch alone, but with darlings, I am less in love with myself. With darlings, I am mama or host or maid or teacher or quiet, quiet, quiet. I am totally, or I understand, or try deep breaths. With darlings, the borrowed rug is bought, the bed is made, the beans are soaked, and with darlings, with loving darlings, I am all in. My sister says, you too alone are magnolias. You alone are a Delta flower. You don't have to be thirsty ground cover. Kill your darlings, darling. Kill all your darlings. But then who would rip the sheetrock from the walls? Who would wring my neck? Dysphagia and death in Matthew 2:11. The chore came at me like an assault. I just can't. And mom would warm milk, crush pills into a sticky nut butter swallow, pet my neck front like a boa. Because I was so tears and nerves, so not yet bloody in between, the doctors couldn't figure out how I forgot to sleep or smile. But my throat knew how to cinch tight as a wink, a pink flesh of refusal, a fistful of roses. Mom would hide the hope in honey and soothed sayings, assuring me that if I could just muscle down the pills, I might dream of anything. Maybe I would feel easy and not want to die. What does a 10-year-old know of death besides dirt and worms? I knew it looked like sleep and I was tired. I knew Trey down the street hung himself like just bought bananas needing time. We smoked gutter shorts and talked about his sister born with her heart upside down, his delicate and dying mother. Trey gave me a Michael Jordan Valentine that year, and a wet kiss, a tooth tap, and I didn't fix the chip until he was long dead, long neck even longer by the weight of the weight of the hang. And the pills couldn't work because I couldn't swallow them. Blue and round, like a cupcake, a sapphire, a clown spot, a bruised seed bearer, a tired eye, a promise, a promise, a promise, a promise. If only a narrow man could have slithered down and delivered the chance like the Magi, offering the pills like holy gifts, as though my joy, my little girl life, mattered to the entire world. I'm going to end with a poem for my mother titled Sestina for My Mother. When godless and manic, to fill my aching soul, I hunt for mothers, train trekking, mouth wide for women, straight up chomping mothers. I have no real reason to need, no extravagant loss to justify my unruly and inordinate desire for mothers. I am 36 and guileful and only Adele. I calm my lover about his mad mama, his not Adele. He pleads, but no, I do not want the job of his soul. A man at the bus station on Main displays his desire with such pride, begging mama, legs laid wide and stateside. I'm sure there has been an undue loss. I will not mother my lover, and I cannot mother this dick-fronted man begging for his own mother. As a mother huntress, I have no interest. I am willful and Adele. When spitless and panicked, I troll for women with loss, for mares and mormors and milky maternal souls. In Montana, a flame-headed woman, freckled hands wide, invited me in. Big sky mother, origin story desire. In Ohio, my tongue in a man-child's trap, desiring mama, wrong throat, wrong road, no mother, no mother. A barmaid with blunt bangs, a drunkard's mother nationwide. Drink this, honey. Tilt that chin up. You're gonna be okay, Adele. The man on Main, his cock slut front and soul, I hate him. All man, no mother. I hate him, get lost. My lover, I love him. I'm not his mother, his loss. To go back, baby, is not what I want, not what I desire. I want any woman everywhere to offer me her soul, praised and petted and proud in a room full of mothers. Poet as Adele, lover as Adele, daughter as Adele, as important and impactful as a womb is wide. My Danish mother waits at home, widening the door for my return, assigning shape to loss. She leaves petals on the stoop, whispers, Adele. She plants caladiums, potting her desires. My dearest mama, my motherly mother, do not fear for this roving woman, this wayward soul, this Adele. Leave the door windward and wide, loosen your soul, lose the loss. I'm coming home, mama, pining for my only mother. Thanks so much, you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Adele. That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Great. Okay, so we'll pose questions to both poets at the end of the reading. So I'll go ahead and introduce our next poet, Henry Goldkamp. So Henry Goldkamp was born and raised in St. Louis. Recent poems appear or are forthcoming in Yemassee, Bear Review, Diagram, Seneca Review, Denver Quarterly, and Idaho Review, among others. Recent critical work appears in Diagram and Big Other. He is the recipient of an Academy of American Poets Prize and serves as a poetry reader for the Adroit Journal and Bayou. More at henrygoldkamp.com. All right, Henry. He's got a request. He would like to request that members of the audience pretend we are in person with one another rather than in a cyberspace maw. I know it's hard, but it makes a difference. Would love to see your actual faces if you're into it. The only thing of relevant interest to preface this show with: the 4 poems from the sequence Death Sentences I'll be performing tonight are collaged erasure poems taken from letters of Richard Masterson. I was pen pal friends with Richard for over 2 years while he was on death row. He was executed by the state of Texas on January 20th, 2016. May he rest in peace. Okay, thank you. Henry, and whenever you're ready.
Where am I? Here I am. Thank you for coming today to this reading. Thank you, Adele, for reading. Thanks all these people. 55 people. That's amazing. That's amazing for a Zoom reading. This shit's burnt out. This stuff sucks. But Adele doesn't suck. Adele is good. And I'm going to be okay. All right? Give it up for Adele one more time. Unmute, motherfuckers. Let's go. Let's go.
Woo! Go Adele.
Yeah. A lot of stuff. I'm in a little backyard here, okay? This is my name. And this first poem is called "Oh Boy with a Little German," or Hundekuchen. Let me see if I can get this right. That looks pretty good. Oh yeah, that's good. I sometimes hit the dog that stares out the mirror with a sun-spotted paw. That mirror who blew my pupils warm as plum. Blood pooled, he's a big hairy boat, and these hanks are sticking. That rat line tickles my hosshole, and I like it. Friendly with that I can't scratch. Many strains of flea, the hair of the me, this bitten tail bald and tucked between. So we. On the blood googly faces of our so-called friends, the pack cracks last and blood drunk out those bottles. Wipes mouths clean, and gulls stalk their green isle like hyenas greased with wing. For a city made of water, me and mine, sure thirsty and awful bad at paddle. I got too excited. Float me like a Sumter chump, baby. Fill my belly ache, echo, rock, and weed. My dosage ain't gone overboard in a dog's age when the stomach pump did what you wanted it to do to me. Do to me. Can you keep us pretty, please? No matter how you count pettily the times I piss on your shag carpet heart, we only wanted in on all that foot traffic, all that toe jam, fuck scented. After all, it's my name sprayed and dripping down the Forson house wall. Oh, to some lamb chop, you the last hobbler of my flock. Every itch in my body wants your pant stretched moonward. Do we herd one another? Raise talking pit, but get by in Pomeranian. Neat trick. I can sleep upside down at the feet of your stairs, or upside down on the stairwell and play dead good. A short life of the party. Banana suit, brown peels of broken glass, the tears squealing like a limo out of Dallas Waffle House lot. The night hurt and wet, slipped into the mucus of a tapeworm, those ancient snifters, shaking sand out the ass of them hourglass hips, waiting patient. I ain't seaworthy to retrieve you, but only say bitta, and I will come here. Ain't never nipped higher than a stifle, no necks, no crowns. A changed man, sober as a goat. Look at me, lip this spigot. This cast iron city water, a rager thrown upon the water wagon, and you, my thirsty VIP. Can't the active eat down its own form of muzzle? Your wire tightens its high tide across my slack jaw, talking all wrong with a rant speckled black. Them bite moves. Your snare pull got soft in that bug-lit moment, just before you noogied 20s in my hair and said, "Mein Vergnügen, my sweet." Like it's a cinch, manhandling that cable wire you lead my animal with. Yeah, man, I do sometimes hit the dog. Only that. The mirror can shed its fur for millions that way. That only that silvery spoon can give way to gray. Singing its broken song, soaking its pizzle pieces until the fun done gone, throbbing its hooch in my hand, seasick with this blubber of land, begging red, let our morning keep geeked and breathing.
Woo!
Thanks.
Ooh. Yeah, baby.
Just some technical things. These next two poems are called death sentences. They're for Richard. I paint landscapes mostly. Sunset things change color like snow, purple and pink or whatever. A black bear like a turkey through a cornfield. Come out the woods all the time, yelling from all the animals. I am a person. I do not look beyond into the past. A house with a dirt floor, a big school bus filled with billions of stars. I paint landscapes mostly, but have done a few other things, and we lived in that as well. One more. If I live today, mostly quiet, if you get away from the city, if you've robbed any churches, if it is fiction or nonfiction, if this is all there is for me, then tomorrow will start. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Say hello.
Hey, Henry.
In every ancient depiction, paradise is very lazy, and hell, the hardest of worker. That's why I drink Corona Extra after a hard 45 minutes work. Wait, hold on. That's not right. Let me try again. This is a word from our sponsors. Oh, here we go. This is what I wanted. In every ancient depiction, paradise is very lazy, and hell, the hardest of worker. That's why I smoke American Spirit Yellows, straight from God's naturally addictive earth. Wait, okay. Okay. Paradise, okay, right. So in every ancient depiction, paradise is very lazy, and hell, the hardest of worker. That's why I start every morning with a fresh cup of Pennzoil. Oh, bad idea. Okay, that wasn't the one. Okay, let's try it again. In every ancient depiction, oh, that's right. Okay. In every ancient depiction, paradise is very lazy, and hell, the hardest of workers. That's why I take name brand prescription Xanax from my local Walmart Supercenter pharmacy. Oh, ooh, that oil still tastes pretty bad. Okay, that wasn't the one. This is the one. This is a word from our sponsors. Right? This is it. This is the script. Okay. Right. Okay. In every ancient depiction, paradise is very lazy, and hell, the hardest of worker. That's why when I fuck a poem, I only use America's most trusted prophylactic, Trojan brand condoms, ribbed for the Poetry Foundation's pleasure. That's a word from our sponsors. My grease paint's going nuts. Okay.
Woo!
All right. This next one is just going to take a second. It's going to probably take about 60 seconds to get ready for it. But that's okay because like we're on our phones all the time anyway. So just play on your phone for a second, and I'm going to get this ready. Thank you.
Is that real oil?
Olivia, can you kill the floodlight? Oh, how silly of me. I forgot the title card. This poem's called The Scales of Good and Evil Glisten. Fish, if hell wet, welcome Matt, hell's bells. Hill Billy Billboard, free stuff must haul. Small town big rig, Jake break steep step, get truck stop pay shower, get lost go getter, better yet shampoo, splish splash wish wash, milk sop silk weed, clean cut dirt ball, kettle coal, eye candy, low brow sweet, tooth, salt lick hell broth, hocus poke glory hole, hallelujah low blow, mouth organ stage fright, fry oil icky dish, doggone fish food, hash brown colorblind, news print it kid, mess kit p's and q's, quaaludes shit bricks, strip mall blue balls, alpha male mega sale, dead broke no bones, goose egg bad day, big night honky tonk, hunky dory horn dog, cow college jerk meat, dead ball out, ping pong. Dang girl, dang girl. Boys, boys, future tense. Acid rinse, stone wash, gold denim boot cut. Hi you, fuck you. Bitch ass shit talk. All bark, no bite. Worm, hook, hook, worm. Antibiotic. Prolix. Take nice. Good dog. Good God, fine print. Hell box, grease trap. Happen chance, mercy kill. Mercy seat, take one. New me, who knew? Good book, bookworm. Dog ear, pussy foot. Loud mouth, soapbox. Bait shack, half breed. Bunny bread, bloodshed. Caught shiner, right hook. Hen peck, fish wife. Dragnet, rerun. Homespun, cola, cancer, no work, blowjobs, happy B-Day, death wish, dead dad, bang dope, big shot, mom mad, sump pump, spoon bread, Xmas ham, hot plate, lukewarm moonshine, sunrise, rose hips, hourglass, sad sand, bad hand, all in hell, no, go, fish. Olivia, could you turn the floodlight back on? Give it up for our stage manner.
Yeah, for O-Dog.
Right, Olivia. What a mess. What a mess. No, I said give it up, like give it up for no, Olivia, turn it back on. Like they're giving it up, like, you know, it's like slang. Can you turn on the floodlight, please? There it is. Thank you. All right, let's get back to normal.
Yeah, right.
No going back.
Oh, good. This is a fun one. This is a fun one. And don't worry, I know I'm going long, but this is only 2 lines. Let's see. How's it look? Pretty good. Oh, shit. Should put some shoes on. It's a good idea. It's cold and wet here in New Orleans. Lots of people from different places here. Lots of St. Louis people here. I see you and I appreciate you. Some Texas people, I imagine. Okay. This next poem's called Power Couplet. This is a good one. Everybody can drink on this one if you want. This is a good one to drink on. You're telling me when the burgundy soaks in to the muscle relaxer? God isn't good? That's called power couplet. Okay. We just got 3 more. I'm going to do 2 more from death sentences. If I can find my magic mirror. Here it is. All right. Dude, I do not fear death. Everyone else pretty much abandoned me. No, I don't think I am happy because I just think handcuffed. Drunks and Bible thumpers. Everywhere we go. We have been both. His face is something in my mind all these years. It is like the Bible beat the living shit out of me. I love the rain, but not when I'm trying to walk around and see the sights. This is the last one from death sentences. And then I'm going to have just one more poem after that. Glad to hear the garden over the world fucking my brains out. Glad to hear the garden men have fecal matter in their beards. Glad to hear the garden had several dreams about it. Glad to hear the garden unlock her panties. Glad to hear the garden hate people that mistreat women. Glad to hear the garden never did like the Beatles, really. Glad to hear the garden beat his punk ass and take his woman from him and make him like it. Glad to hear the garden like road rash. Glad to hear the garden is a hard question. Glad to hear the garden can be worse than being awake. Glad to hear the garden be interested in attending my funeral. Glad to hear the garden is doing good. Whoops. That sad poem's brought to you by Miracle Grow. All right, one more. You know, I'd like to rush it, I would, but it's only right. It's a nocturne. I started with an aubade, ended with a nocturne. You see what I'm doing? Yeah, see it? Nocturne's night, aubade's day, okay. Awesome, so smart. All right, I'm gonna get in the dog suit one more time. And I'm gonna set the computer up over here. I guess while I'm getting ready, I can just thank everyone again for coming here. It means a lot. Been waiting to do a full feature like this for a while. I can't wait for this to be in person. Pretty hard to operate shit like this. My backyard's smaller than it seems. But hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be really fucking around. There we go. Got my puppy nose back. Nocturne ending in Mercy Kill.
My belly a carton of agate and lead. Thing swings me fat with mouth at the dirt. Woof. I am gravity's bitch. My lungs people this cut bank. My waterlogged paunch beast teased. Woof. I tend towards honest faces in light of handsome ones. Prefer to beg for scraps over brute force. Woof. My milk eyes fizz tiny open moons. My paws stain panicum. Woof. All have seen my sentence. This river, this fat, this scrap of death lets me rip. This river repeats ad susurrus. My poem dreams all the others. What?
Oh, fuck. Woo! That's it. That's it.
Woo! Oh,
Fuck yes.
Great work, Henry.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Henry, for that poetry experience. We're going to move in now to our Q&A portion. So you can, if you sense an opening, you can ask either one of the poets a question verbally, or you're welcome to put your question in the chat. And whenever there's an empty beat, Sean or I will read it aloud. So yes, we're opening up the floor for questions. Anyone feel free to jump in.
I got a question for you, Henry.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Aaron? What's up, Aaron?
What's up, man? Congrats, that was great. You know, I'm just driving and watching poetry, so that's safe. Question for you. How long, you said 2 years you spoke to the death row inmate. Did you
Richard,
speak
yeah.
with him? Did you speak with him up until his execution?
Yeah, well, we wrote each other. We never.
And I kind of am curious to know.
I think you're cutting out, Aaron.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I just want to know how you felt like at the end of his life, dating with someone for 2 years like that.
It's not really that interesting of an answer, to be honest. It was weird. It was just sort of a weird relationship to have anyway, you know? I mean, we were friends. We would sign every letter in friendship. While I didn't exactly get like permission to do these poems, he had sort of contacted me, and I mean, this was years ago, so I was like barely starting writing, but he knew that about me, and he had wanted me to like help fix his memoirs. But then he eventually said that he got like too depressed to do it, and so he didn't do anything or send me anything to sort of edit. So this is sort of like, I thought that I kind of had the green light to try something like these erasure poems. And I think that, you know, they're respectful and humanizing. And so, but when he passed, it was just really, I think he said his final words were like, "See you soon." And even though he knew his date was like confirmed, you know, so it's kind of,
wow.
You know, death is always makes everything all, you know, poignant like that. But I mean, that was it was 2016, January 20th, you know? And so, yeah, it was, I mean, it's super sad. It's just like, the whole thing is just super fucked up. Death, you know, the death, it's like put the word death in front of everything, and it's not good, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess that's sort of a kind of a lackluster answer, but.
No, it's not. I you know, I can imagine that was difficult, and those poems for me were powerful. So thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
What was he convicted of?
I didn't correspond with him at all about that. I never asked and he never mentioned it, and I never looked it up until after the fact. But it was for murder. But that's that. I mean, I don't think that it's really focusing on that is sort of pointless. It's the exact opposite of what I was trying to do. So maybe we can move on to something else.
I have a question, Henry. It's Jerry.
Hey.
So when you're writing these poems, obviously I can't see them on the page, but I kind of want to know, who's this? Where's this voice coming from? And why are they like this? And not like any other choice.
Well, I wasn't like completely on point tonight, but honestly, that voice is actually, I have 3 dogs, and that's one of the voices that I do for my dog. And so all my dogs have personalities. And I mean, you know, smoke a bowl late at night, I'll have conversations with them back and forth. And so that's Martha Stewart is the name of her. That's her. She's like a puggle kind of thing. She's amazing. A really in-depth dynamic character. And so I sort of, that's my go-to voice.
Gravity's bitch?
What's that?
She's Gravity's bitch.
She is Gravity's bitch. She does have a little fat on her too. So that's like my dog voice. And so it's sort of, that's what I have the best down tap, but it's really hard because she's really throaty. And so projecting tonight, it wasn't quite the same as it would be like if we were in person, because I have to project so loudly for, you know, I don't have a good mic or anything. So that's where it comes from though. And then I've kind of just manipulated it into voice work of like the scales in good and evil glistening, going back and forth. The intention was aubade, scales, and nocturne in the sequence tonight were sort of like connected in the same character. So sort of like a possession going on after scales of good and evil glisten, taken down to hell, and then final form in nocturne. So. Thanks for the question though.
You anchor that canoe just for this set? Question number 1. And number 2, did you actually drink oil?
I rinsed out the oil container, but it didn't really work as well as I thought it did. So it was gross. It was gross.
Well, you're gross, and we love you for that.
I love you too. You're also gross. Thank
All
you.
right. We'll be gross together.
Thank you, Bird.
We've got a question for Henry in the chat. What's the relationship between the dogs and clown figures that show up in your poems?
Well, like I said, I've like had these like weird conversations with my dogs for like 5 years. And so I think it was the clown thing was sort of a recent epiphany in like studying clowning and sort of looking at stuff like that, like the last 6 months or so, been really doing deep diving into that. And before that, it kind of got started through Rodrigo, who's here, turned me on to Daniil, the Russian absurdist Daniil Harms, and who also was doing like sort of like absurdist theater and stuff like that. And so I sort of like was doing it the whole time, but didn't know that I had the sort of clown in me. And so once I was able to kind of put words to it, it kind of all came together. And I was like, well, I can use, like, I make art all the time, like, you know, performing basically for Olivia, my partner. Like, I'm just like cutting up for her every night. And it's like, this is not, yeah, Lawrence, today I wrote nothing, fuck yes. That's like the best short story ever. But yeah, that's kind of how it's all sort of coming together in a head with the clowning, and the dogs are already sort of their form of clown. So that's where it all kind of comes together. Thanks. Was that Tian? Thank you, T. Thanks for that.
I have a congrats to the both of you. Thank you very much. It was really entertaining and very sort of enlightening watching the both of you. First, I want to say, Henry, I found the sort of the phrase "in the garden" really intriguing in a sort of I don't know, like elemental way. You know, we have, you know, the Garden of Eden. You know, we have, you know, the garden, you know, the Platonic garden, the Epicurean garden, the whole notion of a garden, you know, is not entirely organic. It almost, you know, that you have to sort of build on it. But I like how you smash things kind of together and make things go. But I want to touch on Adele. You mentioned Gloriane Saldou, which it was funny because as you were reading, I was thinking that you were doing this interesting sort of inside outside dynamic that was just like, you know, just going back and forth between the psychological state and sort of exterior evidence and this kind of border crossing. And so when you kind of somewhere in the middle of your reading, you mentioned the Gloriane Saldou, I was very intrigued by that, because I thought that this is a very interesting example of this kind of discursive, you might say, or identity border crossing as a sort of, you know, like a sort of geographically imagined, you know, psychic political imprint of some sort. So I just wanted to say those two things, just throw those things out there to the both of you. But if you want to comment to that, that would be good. Adele, I mean, does that sort of tone with you? I mean, in a way, with what you were trying to do, or?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's, you know, I mean, you read a text like Gloria's, and it's, as, you know, as specific as it is to her life and her experience, it's almost impossible to not relate to just kind of transversing different identities, or different, you know, but putting on different hats, so to speak. So I think it was just kind of this exercise in who I am as a woman when I'm watching trash TV, or who I am as a woman sitting in you know, a fem theory course, or who I am as a woman sitting in an AA meeting, or who I am as a woman sitting with my nieces and nephews. So I kind of went, I mean, I read Borderlands, I guess was the first thing I read from her years ago. And it just opened my eyes to the itinerancy of the life of a woman, I guess, to kind of distill it down to something that's required to find joy, to be of service, to make it anywhere. And that's certainly been my experience. So I think I was playing with it kind of pop culturally in that moment. And I'm glad that you gleaned what you did, because that's what I was hoping would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see another question in the chat. Adele and Henry, what does trial and error look like when writing versus choreographing? Does the revision process feel the same?
Adele, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. Trial and error when writing versus you know, I was actually thinking about asking this question to Henry because when I read, so if I feel like I have a revision process that concerns revising on the page for the page in its further life, and then revising the poem for reading it. And I definitely, like, as far as having my own kind of work organized out, I have different, you know, I have like multiple versions of poems for different what's the word I'm looking for, venues. So there's definitely a distinct difference there for me, as I'm sure, you know, even more so for Henry. But I am a huge, if I'm writing an email to someone, I'm an out loud reader. You know, if I'm writing a research paper, I'm an out loud reader. My poem, I don't think I can write a poem without saying it out loud during the process of writing it. And that, I feel like, is definitely attributed to like growing up writing poetry in the 90s when it was very slam based, or at least that was my exposure. And I'd like, you know, pop in the VHS to record Russell Simmons' Def Poetry Jam. And like, I lived on that. And so now I can't drive with sound if I'm not saying it out loud. And even as as a teacher, or just having a conversation with my partner, you know, I'll say something 3 or 4 times to hear it out loud, to even understand what I mean. It's got to be done that way for me to even know what I'm actually saying. So I think it's as if there's a similarity between crafting and revising for the page and for presentation, it's that for sure. That's a direct link of it just being spoken.
Trial and I was actually just thinking about this last night, and like kind of like, you know, salty about it, or I mean, not, it's just the way it is, but for poetry or even performance poetry, I mean, obviously the whole thing, it doesn't really apply now because of the pandemic, but before that, it's frustrating, even with a you know, as my work has grown more and more performative, it's sort of like I can't bring something like this to an open mic. Like, I'd look like an asshole, you know. I look like, just like, there's no way that I could like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna unload my truck, you know, so I can say 2 minutes worth of poetry. And can you plug this in for me? And also the smoke machine. Do you have the fog machine ready for me? It's sort of, you know, whereas like something like stand-up comedy, which I like dabble. I wasn't very good at it. I like dabbled in it like years ago, where it's like you have open mics all the time, and there's like this space to where you can practice this all the time. So I practiced this as much as I could, and in my head it's beautiful, you know, it's like cinematic and all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, it's fuzzy and it's on Zoom, and it's like not, it's just not how you think it is at first. So I was kind of going through some disappointing motions as I was kind of doing the camera work last night in preparation for this, and the trial and error, though, it really is, it's true. Like one of my mentors at UNO, Carolyn Hembry, once asked me, and it was a good question because it put in perspective for me. And it's a simple answer, but she said, she asked, do you feel that a poem of yours is finished if you don't perform it? And the answer is no. Like, if I don't know how to perform a poem, then it's not done. But I find that if I know exactly what I would want to do, the props I would want to bring in, the moves I would want to bust, then I know the poem's finished. So that was part of the difficulty with that first Obad poem, was I was editing that today. And so I was memorizing what I had yesterday. And so I would be like, wait, I switched that line around because this is how I want to do it. So you're kind of like, you're doing stuff so last minute and stuff like that. But it's sort of, I mean, there's no real, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's no real practice for me. What the whole basis of like clowning or whatever is the best way I could think of it is like an aggressive vulnerability. And so like leading up to the show, I had all kinds of ups and downs. Like, all we do as artists, right, is like always like thinking like, oh, I got it, like this is great. Then the next day you're like, what am I thinking? Like, this is so stupid. And so I was obviously going through that a lot. Oh, I'm gonna put a gold tooth in, wear a dog costume, and wear a sailor's cap. And I'm 32 years old. And I'm gonna get in a canoe and say some words. Like, if I put it in plain speak like that, which I do a lot, I freak myself out. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? But it's how I think. It's what I want to do. It's like it feels good, and it feels good to have a receptive audience. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like great audience and great questions. Like, thank you for coming and seeing it. So yeah, it's just sort of trial and error, man. Yeah, I hope I get more shows. Like, that's to practice it more. You know, to air more, I guess is the vibe.
We've got another question in the chat. This one is for Adele. What is the context of the Love and Body poem?
That's my aunt, y'all, asking that question. So I wrote a poem. I wrote a poem several years ago about a photo of an SS guard, to be completely transparent. It was like he was drowned in a puddle of water. And I wrote about everything around that body, but not that body. And then as some of you may have experienced, you know, you take your art to the workshop, and the workshop likes to live in like these politically tense spaces, which I don't think they were necessarily wrong by any means, but I do think that as artists, there is something to be gained by being less by like losing motives in our workshop spaces, to say this very vague, just to not say what I want to say. But I kind of got reamed for it. I kind of got reamed for not paying tribute or not acknowledging the violence that was there. And then I wrote the poem in response, and I still maintain that I think everything I said in the poem, it was like an incredibly thoughtful moment of all those things. And then I like the poem without the context, but I think within the context, it's important. It makes an important, or I'd like to think it makes an important statement about what we can be distracted by in craft spaces, and also like trusting art. I think that's something that's a whole nother conversation, but I do think that there's like this huge dilemma with trusting the art and the artist that we are. I feel like I'm up against sometimes. So it was a lesson learned, but on both ends, it was a lesson learned from those respondents, and it was a lesson learned for me, and sticking to my guns on something, and knowing myself and what my intentions are.
Okay, another question from the chat for both poets. Does the performing of a poem change each time? And if so, what guides the change?
That's a good question. I haven't had an opportunity to do stuff like this that often. So I don't have like a fully formed answer. I mean, I think I'm going to go back to, even though, he's here, but Rodrigo Toscano and Suzanne Stein, I just reread an essay or a conversation they had in Big Other, and they were sort of calling out the sort of like the careerist readers who there's no need for presence, like you don't even need to fucking be there. They could literally just read you an empty room and it'd be the same fucking thing. And so that idea of activating your audience. So I have like several pieces ready to go whenever things get like crowd work. Like I want to do crowd work. I want it to be different every time. But at the same time, I'm also thinking of the poet John Giorno, who in his memoir that just came out pretty recently, his posthumous memoir, he passed away about a year ago or so, is that he would memorize it as if it's a song. Like as if you're a musician, you always kind of play the song pretty much the same way, but you can kind of tweak it here and there depending on the energy. But and then also the other ideal that I strive towards but sort of faltered with today was he also is a big believer in memorization. And he has a really beautiful set, just like a paragraph or so, just talking about how this little fucking piece of paper is basically a wall between you and the audience. And while that's like pretty big words, I do feel that truth, but it's like, who has time? It's hard to do that. But yeah, that's what comes to mind. That's a really good question.
I'm thinking. And this is a very self-centered answer because I'm a very self-centered person. My performance are they change on who my audience is. which is not the answer I'd like to give. Honestly, I'd like to say that I think that every day if I had a mantra, it would be fuck the audience. But as much as I want that to be it, it's not the reality of the situation. So who my audience is, hell, I mean, my self-care for that day. If I read, if I read like Leslie Scalapino, like if I read a poet from the 70s, or if I read somebody right now, that might fuck with my head for like what I feel like is important aesthetically. So for me, and I think this is maybe an emerging poet conundrum as well, as just insecurity about what I'm doing. What does someone want to hear? What have I absorbed today that's creative, and how's that going to affect my delivery of the poem? But I do keep, I keep all these like digital records of my reading. So I have a Delgado reading, and then I can look back 2 years at a poem that perhaps I read, and I notate maybe, so like I'll break the poem on the page where I want to stop, and I wouldn't publish it that way, but I completely break it up to read it. And it's interesting to see where those changes are made. And I think that's also just like maturation, just like as I get, more realized with my own work, it changes.
I'll ask a question for both poets. What do you do to keep yourself writing, or is it effortless?
Okay, I'll start. I don't know about effortless, but I mean, for my experience, I mean, I probably haven't stopped writing in, I don't know, like 2 years. I mean, I don't consider like a week or something. Yeah, writer's block, just buy a gram, go. And no, but it's so like for instance, like right now, I knew this was coming up, and so it's like I have a 3-week-old baby inside this house behind me, so I have not slept, and everything's going towards that. And the little spare time that I had went towards this show. So I haven't been writing like that. But I mean, if you start thinking in a certain way, or like, like I was answering Jerry's question about the dogs, and it's like, it's all there. It's just a matter of like recognizing it. For me, at least, like, I mean, I'm messing around all the time. And so, yeah, the writer's block thing, thankfully is not ever like struck me for a very long period of time, ever since I've really like adopted the practice. And because if you're not writing new shit, it's like I have so much old stuff to work on anyway, then I consider that writing too, because you'll come up with new lines. So it's just like, once you have a huge fat mountain of work underneath you, I mean, you just hike around all day. I mean, it's just like, you can always find something to work on. But that's just kind of I like working. So I think I'm kind of have that natural proclivity towards that of, I was a local 36 sheet metal worker. Like I was a waiter for a long time. I was a YMCA janitor. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. Like we all have like these laborious jobs like that are hard on our bodies. And I think that I carry that with me. And like, I'm like, setting up all this stuff. Like Bert, my buddy Bert was asking like if I hung that canoe for this. And I was like, yeah, like I went to Lowe's and bought that chain for that poem. Because like, I don't want the poem to be on the fucking page. Like it bores me. It does. It really does. Unless it's really good. I mean, and that's so rare. It's so rare. And often, but the best work on the page is those that are performing it. So, Douglas Kearney, Joelle McSweeney, Cecilia Vicuña, John Giorno. Who else is like, if I ever get a block performatively, I'll just go on YouTube all day and just watch videos of them. Who's like somebody else that's just great. C.A. Conrad, Valerie Shung, all these people are just so inspiring to see their performative practice. And so that kind of gets me going and started again.
I kind of don't. Okay, the question was writer's block. Yeah, I kind of don't. I mean, this sounds like shitty, but I kind of don't believe in writer's block. I mean, I definitely understand like there's moments where I don't feel creative, but I think writing, okay, for me, speaking for me, writing for me is a complete discipline practice. Like the kids, like when I was in elementary school, just like picking my ass and they were doing violin all day and shit. Like that's definitely what it looks like. I think it's discipline. I think it's devotion. It's a decision. It's a commitment I made to something. I do it when I don't want to do it. I do it when it's shit and I just keep doing it. And to be completely transparent about my process, I write often and I write badly often, but it's what I do now. It's like, I've run out of, like, I feel like in my head, I've run out of options. Like, this is what I do. It's what I love to do. And it's what I'm going to do. It's just a decision made. And I know plenty of writers who write fantastic work who don't operate like that at all. But for me and my type of like neuroses, that's exactly how it looks. I think Henry and I can kind of relate on that ethic. Like when I get into something, I'm 130%, I'm obsessed and it's a done deal. And I have such a fear of failure that I honestly don't do shit if I think I'm not going to have some semblance of success at it. So I rarely learn things. That's what that looks like, because I don't want to fail at anything. But I don't think it's like incredibly romantic. I don't wait for the moment to strike me. I force myself to write, and it's bad. But for me, I gotta write through it to get somewhere.
All right. Okay, we've got one more question in the chat before we come to a close. This one is for Henry. Earlier you said that you did stand-up, and I see that you kind of incorporate that into your performance. And how do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know how to do. I oftentimes, like, I'll sorry, still getting the Miracle Grow off the computer. Like, it's fun, serious fun. It's being serious and being fun, and then serious fun, and try. It's like, I guess one piece of advice I got once from a teacher, and it's like, she said, Raina Leone, she teaches out at St. Mary's College, and she said, if you can do funny, then do funny. Like, because not everybody can do it. And I'm like, basically, this is like a super lame thing to say, because it's basically like, hey, I'm fucking funny, by the way, like Steve Martin style or something. Steve, how do you get so fucking funny? But there is something to it. Like, if you can mess around with it, and people are afraid to be funny. Like, I have so many, like, my fantasy is to just do straight up poetry stand-up, in the sense of just destroying it, like just saying fuck poetry and all the sort of like little capital P poetry stuff, and just because it's like, it's so easy and nobody's done it. Like, nobody's really approached it from like a stand and just cutting it down, all the little artifices and Tupperware containers of the page, and just smashing it. But in terms of like, that experience, I definitely carry with me. Talk about, Adele was talking about failure, like, holy shit, I have bombed, I have bombed, and then one time I killed. And it's like, that is something that you'll chase over and over again. And so it's a pretty easy transference over into performative poetics of, hopefully, when we can do this live and do other things, it's, you put yourself out there, and you might fail or you might kill, and you're not sure. But it's sort of like, I was thinking today about when my mom's a really good cook, and but growing up, she never used a recipe. She would always just like use what she had on hand, but she knew how to put it together. And so I was thinking about that yesterday, and thinking that really applies to my practice, whether it's like my mentality of like, so I don't know how to like write obscure theory lyric. I don't know how to do that. I'm not smart enough to do that. I mean, that's one way of putting it. It's not even like a smarts thing. It's just like a thing. But like, physically, like the shit I have in my backyard, I'm like, okay, these are props. Like, all right, I got a wheelbarrow, I'll use it. But how do I use it? And just using what you have. And same thing with like comedy background or whatever your experience. I mean, everybody's doing it in their own way. Like, oh, okay, the drugs I did, the people I've hurt, the people I've loved, you're all just carrying it and putting it somewhere, just hopefully, like, I don't know, kind of gracefully. But thanks for that question. I haven't really thought back to the stand-up stuff in a while, but.
Okay, all right, so another big thank you to our poets, Henry and Adele. Thank you very much again. And yes, one more round of applause, quiet applause. And And thank you to all of you, formerly, 50 something down to 33. Thank you to you 33 survivors who've stuck with us. And thank you everyone for being here. Thanks Sean for hosting the meeting. We'll see all of you next time. And you can look in, one more thing. You can find out more about Adele and Henry's work at their websites, which are linked in the chat, AdeleEliseWilliams.com and HenryGoldkamp.com.
Thank you for hosting, Mason, and Sean for inviting me, and Adele for coming along for the ride, and everybody for showing up. It means a lot of love from St. Louis and friends and family, and it's just like, it's amazing to be doing this for y'all in front of y'all. So thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. It was great. It was fantastic and special, and like one of my kind of favorite reading experiences, frankly.
Okay, good night, everyone. Have a great evening.